Last week, we were dealing with issues of control. This week, it's fear. Running from it, succumbing to it, and possibly overcoming it. It's Mr. Robot, episode 2.1, kernel-panic.ksd. Alright, spoilers ahead just so you've been warned. So obviously you can tell a little bit of a change of location this week. I'm actually on vacation, so what does that mean? I'm just shooting somewhere else. So we're going to start off this week with the very beginning of the episode, a little flashback scene between Romero and Mobley. And from what we can tell by the way that they are talking, that this is actually takes place long before the FiveNine hack, that this is before season 1. This is when fsociety first gets the arcade and really is kind of first formed from a name-wise basis. And we get the nice creepy story of this location, of the arcade, how it's sort of cursed, the center of all evil in the universe, as Romero tells Mobley, where everyone involved with it, every owner, is either killed or just dies in some horrible accident, which becomes quite appropriate when, as we flash back forward, when Mobley finds Romero's body at his place, shot in the back of the head. Sort of fits along with the whole location curse. And this moves Mobley on to sort of his panic, his dealing with fear, sitting down with the rest of fsociety with Trenton and Darlene. And is basically his concern is he wants to get out of town. He believes that this is the Dark Army trying to tie up loose ends. Remember, they had to use the Dark Army, who was headed by B.D. Wong, to do the big FiveNine hack. And so he believes that this is the Dark Army starting covering up their tracks. And as he says, they are the tracks. All right, and that leads us to the really full introduction of the FBI agent we briefly met last week, Dominique DiPiero. And that first opening scene with her is just beautiful. A wonderful way of really showing her entire character briefly without having to say a thing. Like I mentioned last week, that idea of show me, don't tell me, beautifully orchestrated right here. She is alone, obviously. She's all by herself. It's 2 a.m. She's awake. She's reading through internet. She's pushing off the dating app that's pushed on her. She's antisocial. Obviously, she's not connecting with anybody, and that's reinforced later on by that whole little cyber sex scene where she was just texting back and forth. Not even video, no connection like that. Again, really, well, disconnected. And I think that's even more evidenced by, the AI clock, the little Amazon Alexa thing there is only communication that she has. That's her only friend. The clock behind her isn't even plugged in. It's still blinking 12 o'clock. She curls her hair and then pulls it back. Just really a disconnected person, probably socially not so much into her job that she seems to be well, but I think that disconnected draws her to that list that has her name on it. When she goes to investigate Romero's death, and she gets handed, these are the only lists, so there was some hack some time ago, but she's really obsessed with her name being on that list. Oh, and just a quick little aside, that was a wonderful scene of hacker defense. As she says, have you checked the points? And the whole computer goes, yeah, it's on. This is a hacker. He's good at covering up his tracks. What he used in that, your guess is as good as mine. Some sort of fuel, is it gasoline that burned it? It was a very hot flame. Could it be thermite? That probably would have burned through the whole computer. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Simply that he's got defenses on there. She's at least aware of that, and I think that ties a little further into she's had a little dark background. She's had a little bit of a past herself, reinforced later on when she goes back to Romero's place and speaks with her mom and brings up her whole joint rolling skills, which leads her to the flyer. Did you notice? Hosted by featuring DJ Mosley. There's his name right there. But that ends up bringing her to Coney Island, and much like we saw in the opening scene with the little flashback, we get to see what's emblazoned out for anyone to see who is looking. fsociety, what used to be Fun Society, the name of the LLC that was owning the arcade before Romero took over here. fsociety right up there in black and white in huge letters for anybody that wants to see. And of course, this is the closest so far that anybody in the police has gotten to fsociety. All right, and then we have Angela's story and her whole sort of flirty courtship thing that's going on with Fisher. And why? You know, what is his attraction to her? Is it partly that she will stand up to him? That whole Fox-Bloomberg discussion on which was the better thing to do. Tough to tell at this moment, but I think it does connect back in with why she was sort of pulled into E-Corps in the first place. And just a little aside, that drawing that they were talking about there that she was obsessed with, that is a drawing of the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which kicked off World War I. So yeah, that is a perfect example of one person impacting and changing the whole world. Now, Angela's still doing her daily affirmations, very nice. But that whole dinner thing basically comes down to the introduction of the two men, the company men. Good guys all around, as Fisher says. But we do find out towards the end of that dinner that these are two of the people responsible for the whole Western Township toxic waste event that claimed her mom's life and claimed Elliot's dad's life. And he presents with her a bunch of evidence. These guys are also thick as thieves, doing a little bit of white collar crime on the side there, and he presents Angela with enough evidence to take them down. Can't do the whole Western toxic thing, can't involve that. That's what happened last season. These are new things, but she's able to get actual revenge. Now, she doesn't trust Fisher, and with good cause, but I think this is part of his whole thing with her. Again, he's offering her power and seeing what she does with it. Along the same types of vein when he first hired her, offered her the power. Have you tried to change evil from the inside? Have you tried working on the inside? Come work for me. And that has had a certain effect on her. She is definitely more in E-Corps' grasp. So this is kind of like the next step. Okay, you want revenge? Here is power, the ability to get your revenge. But, as he says, and again, reflecting back to the whole fear issue, if you're able to let go of your emotions, the natural choice will come to you. So this is, again, a little bit more of that offering of power, seeing what you did with it. I think it's a sort of power seduction technique that's going on, and it might be seduction on a couple of different levels. And of course, in dinner, even there, fsociety has its little mark, the little reflections of the FiveNine attack, because they have to pay for dinner first in cash before they eat, because you never know if they've got enough credit or if the machines will work. All right, let's get to the meat of the matter. It's Elliot and Mr. Robot and the continuing war for control that Elliot is having with Mr. Robot. We get to find out that the call to Tyrell, really just an act of appeasement, really just Mr. Robot's way of saying, okay, you asked for something, here it is, now can we move on and get to things? Well, for Elliot, not quite so much, and really reacts super strong the other way with the whole Adderall thing. And in case you guys don't know, Adderall is basically, it's an amphetamine cocktail. It's basically pharmaceutical speed. So super high, super keeps you awake, but drives you nuts. And a couple things with that. One, with Leon. So is Leon going to be his new dealer? It seems to be the direction they're going in, and I'm fine with that. I like Leon. It's a little stereotypical, but Elliot's last dealer, things did not end up well for her. In that very sad storyline. Just gives me a little bit of worry, concern for Leon. Two, that whole hallucination scene, really nasty. Liked it, but really nasty. That drowning in cement vision was just horrifying. And I'm not sure if the following re-eating the Adderall out of his puke was more disturbing. I'm kind of leaning that it was. The vision of the cement was actually less disturbing than re-eating those pills. I mean, that seems to even gross out Mr. Robot. But of course, all of this really is pointless because Mr. Robot is part of Elliot. Much like when he was journaling the moment that he fell asleep, Robot could come back out. This is the same thing. Sure, you may push him away, but as soon as you come back down, and you will, he can pop back out. And that's the thing. This may keep you high for a while, it may keep you awake for days, but eventually your body will give out. Eventually, the crash will come. What they refer to in the title of this episode, the kernel panic. And in case you guys don't know that, kernel panic is a programming term, deals with a set of commands in order to deal with a cascading failure within a system. Used a lot in Unix, early stuff. They do different commands now with Microsoft and DOS and all of those things. But basically, yeah, it's a set of commands usually for debugging, save the last little bit of information that we had, the last bit of memory, put it away in a file, and then just freeze the system and wait for it to be rebooted. It is a cascading failure that freezes the system. And that was perfectly exampled out with his whole religious blow up in his meeting. Again, you could find religion with Adderall, but you will lose it just as fast. And yes, great speech. I mean, it was very typical Elliot speech, much kind of like the whole consumerism bit from last season. The difference here to me, and my favorite part, is really the end where he asks, "Did I just say that out loud?" Yes, Elliot, you weren't using your inside voice like you normally do. This was using your outside voice. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of group for him. Which brings us to Ray and Elliot's little interaction with him. And basically, throughout the story, you come down to the point where Ray is kind of like Elliot light. In the sense that he has lost someone, also talks to him, but is a bit more on the sane side, a little bit more on the controlling side. But it does allow him to see what is going on with Elliot and sort of make those connections. And his solution is that there is no control. Your striving for control is pointless. There is no control. It is just moving forward, stumbling, falling, getting back up. It's Dory from Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming. And that's really the key there, and that's really the lesson that Elliot needs to learn, at least at this point. You can't keep fighting and pushing away and trying to find bits of control. It is really just trying to make small adjustments and keep moving on. You're not standing upright, you may be stumbling. It's all about forward motion. And we do get a little background on maybe why Ray is looking for Elliot, and that has to deal with that whole scene with the beat-up programmer. And I kind of get the feeling that it was Ray's partner that did the beating up. We don't have the specifics yet of what exactly is going on, but it's basically a form of Bitcoin manipulation or currency usage, and that's what the programmer was running into. And this happens a lot in many of the real-world Bitcoin issues as well. These types of hacks have occurred where basically you're setting up your computer server and their wallets, people's little files where they keep their Bitcoins, and you have hackers that come in and manipulate the code and steal your money and crash your system, and then you just keep doing it over and over again. And things have not worked out very well. Ray is involved with this somehow, and I think this is why he is trying to get a hold of Elliot. That programmer can't do what he needs to do, so he's looking for Elliot to help solve his problem. So I think we're going to probably find these Bitcoin issues and situations coming up a little bit more. All right, so that is it for this week. If you guys got any questions, curiosities, why don't you throw those down in the section below. At the same time, you can hit that thumbs up button, give me a nice like. Tell me how much you enjoyed this. Would mean a lot to me. Come back every week. You can hit that subscribe button. We'll put it right over here. So we'll have a little subscribe button right here. You go ahead and click that. Just this bit of FYI, I have recently did a little trip to the new Walking Dead attraction at Universal Studios. Did a little bit of review, got some sneak peeks on the inside, but I did save some things. You can catch that on the video right up over here. Other than that, if you missed last week's episode, we'll throw it up right over here. You guys can check that out. Other than that, I hope you guys are doing well or having a good week. I will be back home at the regular place for next week's episode, and I will see you then. I'm D, and I am out of here. You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.